Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Infrastructure Oversight Board. We will have a period for public comment. The members of the public can speak for a total of 3 minutes, and you can participate via in-person or via telephone by calling 818-238-3335. We will start with the flag salute. Could we have the roll call, please?
Armin Avazian,
Present.
Maria Coronado,
Present.
Dwayne Gilmore,
Present.
Linda Besson,
Present.
Shane Weber's currently absent, Colin Hoffmeister.
Here.
Thank you. Any announcements from staff?
No announcements today, Chair.
Thank you. Any public comment? No. Do we have anyone on the phone?
No speakers at this time.
Right, thanks so much. And we move on to consent calendar, which is approval of the minutes of the IOB meeting held on September 25th, 2025. Any discussion, comments, changes about the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve from Member Coronado. Any second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Okay, please call for the vote.
Maria Coronado,
Yes.
Dwayne Gilmore,
Yes.
Colin Hoffmeister,
Yes.
Armin Avazian,
Yes.
Linda Besson.
Yes, thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
And now we move to reports on the board. So I will hand it over to staff.
Well, I am pleased to announce that we have a couple of presentations. I think we're going to kick it off with the library update by our esteemed director, Eric Lashley.
I welcome.
Good evening. Oh, this is on. Good evening. I'm Eric Lashley, the Library Services Director here in Burbank. I've been here since December, but I'm very excited to be here to talk to you about the new library Civic Center Plaza project. So I have also handed out, just to let you know, I'll talk about this, our community engagement has kicked off or will be kicking off on Wednesday, October 29th. From 6 to 8 p.m. at the Central Library. Okay. Whenever I speak to the public, I have to start this out, that libraries are not about books, libraries are about people. And I think after my presentation, you will agree that libraries are not about books, libraries are about people. That's what it's all about. That's what I'm here for, and we're here to serve the residents of Burbank. So what has happened? I know there was some concern. Linda came up to me at the boards and commissions reception the other night about wanting to keep this project going now that Ken Berkman has retired. And I want to thank Ken for his leadership, and when I came on, it was nice that Ken took me under his wing and said, this is what we're doing, and he and I made a really good team. Just to let you know that Damien and Lee Fong have stepped up admirably, and they're now one of my best friends because we meet all the time on this project. So we did the RFP for a project manager. We selected Mocha Services. They're a fantastic firm, and they started hitting the ground running October 1st or August 1st. So what have they done? What is their scope of work? Their scope of work is to define the project. So there are 3 departments in this facility. There'll be the new library, finance, and management services, all in one shared space. They're looking at setting the schedule. This is going to be a schedule-driven project, and I will be proud to tell you that we're 6 months ahead right now. This is a real project that we're moving forward, and we're hitting schedules. It is a schedule-driven project, and they're setting that schedule, and we're working that schedule. Budget and financing. So we want to build a new library. We got to come up with a budget, real numbers, so that we can actually finance this project. Community engagement, which I mentioned, it begins October 29th. So MOCA is leading the community engagement. There'll be lots of pop-up events, lots of events happening, but the first one starts on the 29th of October. Our conceptual plans need to pass the environmental quality. The draft, they're working on a draft for progressive design build RFQ. So the job right now is we are doing a progressive design build. If you're not familiar with that building structure, it's where we hire the architect and the construction firm together. And as the progressive part is, they work with the owner to design it and build it and price it in real time. And it's a cost saver, and it's also a schedule. You stay on schedule and you build it much faster. So that's our design. That's how we plan on delivering this project. After we shortlist the firms, the qualified firms, we'll do an RFP. We'll select the firm, and then MOCA will be our owner's rep from construction to move in. So we're actually even doing cost-benefit analysis of, so ASB is one of the buildings that we're going to end up demoing to move into the new library. When do we do that? Do we do it early in the project or late in the project? So they're looking at cost-benefit analysis of when we actually do that. So they're not starting with the blank piece of paper. There was the design or the vision that was done by Miller, Hull, and Arab in the past. So we've done a community engagement to get us this far. And so what did that community engagement say? It said that we wanted a safe, clean, and welcoming space for all. A place for the community to gather, a destination, helps us, the library, fulfill our mission, and assist with economic development for the community, and it's the cultural center of Burbank. Those are our goals that came out from the last community engagement sessions. So when Miller, Hull, and Arab were first doing this project, it was a P3. Y'all probably know there was a housing element. They were looking at using development to help pay for the project. So at the time, it was the new library right over here on the corner of Olive and Glen Oaks. And then there would be housing with parking on the corner of Orange Grove and Glen Oaks. And then the current library would be a housing opportunity with parking. So this is what the conceptual plans came out in the first plan. So since Miller Hull since MOCA has been hired, what they've done is looked at that plan. Does this plan work for us? So the way they've done is they've done staff surveys. They've surveyed the entire staff of the library, finance department, and management services. We've done other meetings one-on-one with staff, looking at the programming of the space, and we've come up with a program list of how the building will be used for each of the 3 departments. We've had departmental meetings, not only with the departments within the building, but other departments, BWP, Public Works, a lot of meetings with Public Works. We'll be meeting with Parks and Rec, talking about the outdoor space. We had a visioning session here in this room, and I'll show you some of the slides from that from October 7th. And that was with the leadership of all the departments within the city, looking at these. What are our guiding principles? What do we want as a city from this project? We'll be at the Farmers Market in November is one of our pop-ups to gain community input. But the Farmers Market is one of those that's impacted by this. So right now, the Farmers Market is right here. During construction, we need to find another home for the Farmers Market. So I've met with them. We're finding another place for them. I just want to ensure you that we want to keep the farmers market downtown. We're going to work with them to make sure there's a space for them. And then after the new library and plaza is built, hopefully we've got a good space for them here back in their old home turf. Library charrette. So we did one just the other week with Public Works and planning, and we were coming up with how the new library and parking, which I will show you, will fit on this site. It's still in the conceptual drawing or conceptual phase. And again, currently we're ahead of schedule that MoCA has set for us. So that is a really good, I want to emphasize, we're ahead of schedule, people. I think the city manager told me that was the first time he'd ever heard that. So what was the visioning session that we did here? So we had all of the leaders, department heads in this room, and Lee Fong and Damien were here, and we talked about the project and what are our goals for the project? What do we want this to mean for Burbank? What do we want this to mean for downtown? And so we just started putting ideas, and you can see that entire wall was filled with ideas for the new library. We then voted, like, which of this, is a priority to you? The hardest part, we had to vote which one did we not want to do, which was very difficult. And from that, we came up with our guiding principles and our drivers and our programs. And so what are those? The first guiding principle is we always have to have the community in mind. That was a great exercise that everybody felt community, community, community. So if you can read some of those things, it's all about community. And so that is our first guiding principle, is to always keep the community in mind, that this is a community facility. This is built for the community. It's to build community. So community is our first guiding principle. The second one was they want this new library and this plaza to be beautiful. They want this to be a destination. They want people to really be proud. This is a generational project. The Central Library was built in 1963. That means that whatever we build is probably going to be around for 60, 70 years. And we want it to be beautiful. We want people to be proud. We want this to be a destination. So being a beautiful facility and park and plaza is one of our guiding principles. The third is to be flexible. I just mentioned the current library is built in 1963. It is not a flexible space. One of the reasons why we're building a new library is that space does not work in a modern library. We would have to really gut that building and start all over to even make it a 21st century library. Now, in 1963, it was world class, it was modern, but things have changed. The internet did not exist in 1963. So even to bring in internet, we had to put our computers next to every column because that's where the data lines could be dropped. It doesn't meet it. So what we were looking at is it is so hard to predict the future. We don't know what a library is going to look like in 2034 or in 2045. However, if we build a flexible space, it really doesn't matter. If you build a space that can be flexible and fit future needs, that's one of our guiding principles. Not to get locked into the way we think a library will function just today, but how will it function in the future? The other guiding principle is safe. I'm telling you right now, I've been in libraries for over 30 years. I've worked in Austin, San Antonio, Georgetown, Texas. One of the biggest keys about using a library, it's got to be safe and clean. If it's not safe and clean, parents aren't going to bring their preschool children to the library. Senior citizens are not going to come to the library. It's not going to be a great place for the staff to work if it's not safe. Safe is one of our guiding principles. We're going to make sure the library doesn't have hidey holes where people can hide, that it's secure, that you feel comfortable bringing your family to the library. And that is a guiding principle. So as we design the library and the plaza, that safety is one of our guiding principles. So what are some of our project drivers? Fiscally sustainable, that we're going to be taking care of the budget, that we're taking care of the taxpayer's dollar and spending it wisely. Long-term vision, again, this is a generational project. We're looking long-term. Building operations, maintenance, we're going to take care of the building. We're going to design the building so it's easily to maintain. That's Lee Fong talking there. He wants it to be easily maintained. It's purpose-built, state-of-the-art facility. I call it world-class. And the last one is going to be the best library in the world. That's one of our drivers. So this is what, again, previously you may have heard when we first did the first one, that the library would be on the corner here. There'd be housing as part of this block, and then housing possibly where the current library is. This is where we're going now. This is what we're looking at now. Miller, after looking at this, after meeting with all the different departments, we've removed the housing element from this project completely. So before, the parking was going to be subterranean. Now what we're looking at is doing parking right over here, right next to CSB on the corner of Glen Oaks and Orange Grove, but it would be above ground. That possibly can save us $15 million right there. Subterranean costs $100,000 per spot. This doesn't. This still costs a lot. But we're looking right now between 310, 325 spaces. Again, we're still in that process, so don't hold me to that number. New central library, again, the same spot. And then the library, right now, we're thinking now of repurposing that instead of doing housing there. Still up for discussion, but that's the plan right now. This is where we're moving. And as we get community input and community engagement, we'll define it even more. But so it just completely takes out the housing, and we're focused on parking garage above ground, new library, and then the plaza. So what are the amenities we're looking at the new library? We're looking at doing a partnership with a coffee shop vendor, bringing them in early, because I think coffee or bringing in food element, which I had in my last library, really changes the dynamic of the space. It says, come, welcome, stay, enjoy. You know, again, gets that old school book-centric library out of your mind. It's more community-centric. It's a good place to hang out. So we're looking at doing coffee shop, doing a private vendor for coffee shop service. Children's room, destination. Right now, if you early childhood brain development is you learn by play. Children learn by play. In libraries, that was not the way libraries functioned in the past. Modern libraries now bring in educational toys, bring in tactile things, do these little playscapes. We're not trying to replace Parks and Rec, but we are bringing in play to the library. So having this as a destination for preschool families, and again, a guiding principle, having a safe space, this is what families want, and I'm sure that's going to be shown in the community engagement that we do. Again, a tactile, a fun area for kids to learn and play. A teen space. None of our libraries right now have a real teen space. And I think, again, we need a safe place for our teens who want to hang out, grab a cup of coffee or some snack, and then hang out with their friends in a safe environment. And that's what we want to do at the new library. Public art. Huge. We want to be the cultural hub for Burbank. We need public art. The public art, though, needs to be very intentional. So as a part of design, we're going to have public art in there. Public art in the parking garage. Public art in the plaza. So this is already not an afterthought, but this is an intentional design to do public art, exhibit space, performing art space. This is going to be the cultural center of Burbank. Museum-level displays. We've already been talking to the entertainment industry. We are the media capital of the world. I want that to be shown in the library. We want to honor the history of Burbank in the media industry. So having Warner Brothers displays, world-class museum-level displays where we can do costumes, props, even the Batmobile. Things like that. So it is a destination. The library will be a destination that you would take your neighbors and friends when they come to visit you. Maker spaces, media labs. This is, again, it's community-centric. People are there to lifelong learning. Having a place where people who are contract workers in the media industry want to keep up their skills. Library's a great place for that. For arts and crafts, this is where, again, people would come and just make things. It's about lifelong learning. So even having tools that they can check out, tools that they can use in the library, having kiln where they can do pottery. This is, again, not book-centric. Performing arts space. Space for lectures, space for concerts, space for theater, dance, having a black box theater that can serve the public. This is a creative community. Having a space for the creative community to actually perform for our residents is something that we're really excited about and trying to incorporate in the design of this building. Co-working spaces. Again, part of the goal of the library is to be a co-working active space. If you have younger people or people who are again, work remote, a lot of people actually don't want to like to work at home because they go to the refrigerator or whatever. Having a really co-working space, this is why the coffee shop and the study rooms where they can meet clients and not have to pay rent for an office, it creates a synergy too. And having that creates a safe space. Having energy, having people eyes on things, and that you know that this is a great place to work. This is a great place to create things and have private conversations or Zoom meetings. That's another thing that we're really looking at, having a co-working space. Cooking. We want to have culinary classes at the new library. It's all about lifelong learning. It's not all about reading books. It's about, and I love books. I love books a lot, but the fact is this appeals to a lot of people. Teaching teens how to cook, how to live healthy, how to eat healthy. Everybody has to eat. That's one of those great things about us. We're trying to find space more for humans and less for books. So even if we come up with a system like this where if you look at the library now, any library in America, so much of our space is wasted by aisles. So much of floor space, which costs a lot per square footage, is aisles. I want to get rid of as many aisles as possible and have the square footage that people can actually use. So looking at a compact shelving system is really cost effective in the long run. We can actually have a smaller footprint of the library, but actually larger square footage for people to actually use if we just get rid of a lot of the aisles. Smaller shelves on casters. Again, this is a great way. Right now, all of our shelves are all completely locked in. If we had shelves like this, we can move things around, and guess what? Now you have an event space that you can use for summer reading or other events. When that event's over, you just move the shelves back. It gives you so much flexibility, and that's one of our, again, guiding principles, that the space is going to be flexible. How do you become flexible when you have shelves? You just make it so the shelves move, and then you can use that space for multiple purposes. Right now, if you go to our library, those shelves have been there since 1963. That space has been the same since 1963. This type of thinking gives us more opportunities to use the space in a different way. The outdoor plaza space. Again, one of the things we want is to have a big space for concerts. The Christmas tree lighting can move to the plaza instead of in front of the city hall if we wanted to do that. Concerts. We talked about the farmers market. The other thing what we want to do is outdoor rooftop type outdoor spaces, so that we have a kids space that is outdoor, but it's up on the second floor. You can only access it through the kids' room, which again is safe. We can control access to that space. Kids can then run around and burn off some energy. We can do outdoor events with a rooftop venue like the one on the left. These are the vision that we're looking at for the new library. Of course, for the other things, just having that outdoor, another space for activities in the downtown to move to the center of downtown Burbank will be fantastic. And the last is that we wanted, again, kids to be outdoors and maybe even doing a garden for kids to learn how to plant and to, again, enjoy nature and learn how nature works. And with that, that's into my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was terrific. Let me open up. Any questions from anyone? Board Member Gilmore?
Director Lashley, thank you for the presentation. I don't really have any questions, as more comments, if I may. I'm really grateful that this process, and appreciating that we're kind of early in the process, has been approached with this level of ambition. I think it's rare to hear, people in our business say we're ahead of schedule. And it's good to be proud of that, and congratulations on, starting with that confidence. One remark that stuck with me in your presentation is best library in the world. I mean, I think bringing that level of ambition to this project is really called for. And I think you touched on many of the points that we're proud of in our community. As we all know, culture is the biggest export that the United States has to the world. And most of the culture comes from our neighborhood, So to the extent that we can be very ambitious and tackle these things head on is really, really very important. Again, thank you for just being very ambitious with this. I think if we achieve 50% of these things, it's just a huge win for the community. So I'm really grateful for the updates, and I'm really grateful for the vision, really grateful for the process, and again, congratulations on being ahead of schedule.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I have a quick question. Thank you for the presentation. It's very ambitious, and we're excited to see how this moves forward, and excited to know that it's ahead of schedule. One small question I had, I remember a while back we approved $5 million to set aside for a match for a $5 million grant that we received for this project. What's the status of that grant?
You're talking about the Build It Forward State Library Grant. It was for $9.5 million for sustainability.
Yes.
We have met with, again, with MOCA, we have met with the state library. We will need an extension because the grant will normally expire. However, because we're ahead of schedule and that we'll be doing the RFP for the progressive design bill, we'll end up meeting those, the desire that they want. They don't want to give us the money back. The only specific in that grant that it's not a real concern to me is we had specified, HVAC, water, solar, which we're all going to do. Those types of lead type elements we're going to match. The one that was very specific was that we were going to use mass timber construction with the new library. That has not been determined. We met with them and we said, if we don't do mass timber construction, can we use the money for something else? And they said, yes, we would do a budget reconciliation. So we haven't spent any of that money yet. We're getting ready to spend some of that money. And so that match will count.
Just a follow-up to that, changing the project model from P3 to progressive design build doesn't change any of the grant requirements?
None.
In that regard.
None at all.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi, thank you for your presentation, and the project looks fantastic. I have some just comments, and I don't want them to come across as negative, just really as out of a curiosity. When I look at a project of this scope, and I think of the management of a facility like this, when you don't have the traditional library, which is tried and true, and I'm glad that it's not going to be that. But when I look at a coffee shop, workshop with tools, garden area, museum, kitchen for cooking, a few things pop up. They all sound great, all things that I would certainly be interested in using. But then I think of liability, and I also think of staffing. And then I look at, is there enough room to do all those things effectively? So that's just my curiosity. Again, it's not a negative comment. I think it's really ambitious and really exciting. And I just kind of wonder, is this, are those the best functions? And perhaps you have experience, it sounds like you've done several of these projects and can speak to that. Because, I kind of look and to use, I don't know if everybody understand, like the Ginsu knife analogy, right? It can slice, cut a can and slice a tomato, but is it really doing a good job for any of those? So that's my only comment really on that.
Those are great thoughts, and again, I bring what one of our guiding principles, flexibility. And so I'm very confident that we're building spaces that can be very flexible and that we can do cooking here for this and then turn it into this and that. So that's one. The other thing is, again, I've been very fortunate to build a really great library that had a coffee shop and some of these amenities that we're talking about. One of the things that I want to focus on, and the great thing that technology does do, and again, we're going to need staff. I'm not saying that technology is going to take the place of staff. However, what staff does in their job duty completely changes. And here's a perfect example. So my previous library, it's around 85, 90% self-check. You don't need to go up to someone to check out a book. The technology is there that I don't need a human being to do a transaction. Nobody here goes to a gas station and goes in and, everybody pays at the pump. We've all moved to becoming more efficient with technology. That's exactly what I'm doing. The new library is going to be designed for a lot of self-check. The human beings that are there to deal with human beings, not to do transactions that you can do yourself. We're trying to be really convenient, self-service, even lockers, having 24-hour, 24/7 lockers where people can just go in just like at Amazon and just check out your books. The books will be there for you. And the product we're looking is the one that does Amazon. They told us that 40% of our holds will be done through lockers. So you won't probably even come into the library. You'll go to the parking garage or somewhere else where the lockers are going to be. We can do this. The biggest change management that I have to do is to get my staff ready for this. They've been in a building since 1963 and done things a certain way. I know when I built my first library, the dramatic change in circulation and visitations was just overwhelming, and we had to work smarter, not harder. And technology does give us that. But your point that we can't do everything is possibly true. To your point, though, I want to be very ambitious. And the community engagement will tell us that. Some of the stuff they may go, this doesn't work in Burbank. And I'm going to listen to that and go, you know what, that's not going to work in Burbank. But you don't know until you put it out there to even have them imagine that this could happen in Burbank or at our library, or that this is what a library is now. For a lot of 21st century libraries that you go other places, I'm not coming up with something that's so out of the ordinary. This is what libraries are doing. They're doing food pantries in communities that have food insecurity. We have a social worker now. So we're even looking at something like that. Is that something that's needed? I don't know. But until you think about it, until after you move in, it's almost too hard at that point. It's like anything else, any other building project. You start here, and then the real budget hits, and you start working it down. What I have done, and which we're going to use with the community engagement, you're going to tell us which one of these is a priority to you. I can pretty much guarantee that children's programming is probably going to be a priority for this community. Then it may be a Spark Lab or something else. But we'll know that. We'll use that input to make our final decisions. But yeah, I appreciate your comments. Those are good.
Comment to that. So I think one thing that I heard, but I didn't quite process, was the flexibility. So some of these items that you're talking about, like the workshop, with tools and the craft shop and the kitchen, could be a shared space.
Yeah.
That's used. So that makes things a lot different as far as budgeting, as far as staffing, and as far as actual use, because if you're only using a workshop a couple days a month, that's wasted space. But if it's a shared space, so it's the flexibility. So it's
Yes.
kind of a whole. I can see that you have a lot of steps ahead of where I'm understanding just the presentation.
So if I may, this is Lifan, the city engineer. So I want to add to what Eric said about, and I'll give you an example of what flexible space looks like, because traditionally you don't tie the flexible to library, but what, Eric's vision is trying to bring. So a great example is Staples Center. Think of it. You have basketball game one night. The next night is a hockey game. And then the night after is concert. How can you have all these things happening at one place? The key is it doesn't have to be all things to all people at all time. It can be all things to all people at some time. So that's the way to think of it. So I think that's what Eric tried to bring. If something works, great. We'll be having more frequency for that function, for that space. If something doesn't work, okay, we try it. We try something else. So,
Yeah.
Can I just chime in?
I just want to say I'm really glad that you still call it Staples Center, because I still call it Staples Center. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm not even sure what it's called now.
Please go ahead.
It's crypto. I know what it's called. Just to extend on some of the chatter over here, when you presented the parking lot, one thought that I had was, the way we think about parking lots now is occasionally they have a farmer's market in them, but it would be good to think of it as a farmer's market that occasionally has parking in it. And if there's an element of flexibility where half of it is pickleball in off-peak times, everybody loves pickleball, right? And, there's ways of kind of utilizing these opportunities, and I think flexibility is an excellent axiom for this project. Sorry for cutting in.
Speaking of pickleball, so my last library, they actually do pickleball in the community room. Pickleball, I'm sure Parks and Rec, it's taken over the world.
First, I want to say thank you for the presentation and all the hard work. It's always nice to see a project that's ahead of schedule. But I did have a question. You talked about rolling shelves and self-checkout, and I'm familiar with, it's called the Automated Storage and Retrieval System. You talked about the technology, and I wanted to know more of what you were thinking as far as how modern are we going? Because I see a lot of libraries that have that automatic retrieval system, and so I was just wondering, what are you looking at, and could you give us a little bit of details about your thought behind that?
Yeah, so we're looking at that. So right now, the Omaha Public Library is being built. It's going to be a world-class library, and librarians are already talking about this, and we'll probably end up going there and visit it. What I liked about it was they're using the Omaha Central Library to help all of their branch libraries, where again, they're trying to create space for human beings in the community and not space for books. And they found the exact same thing that I know. I've been doing it for 30 years. Most of your space is an aisle. So what they've done, they've created this robotic system that mostly academic libraries use, and there are a few academic libraries in the Cal State system that have this, where you take the center of your building, it's like this, and it's almost like an Amazon warehouse with robots that go up, pull the books, you make a request for the book, it goes zip, 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 and brings it down, and it delivers to you. What that does, it sounds really cool and futuristic, but what they're trying to do is save space. Your costs are square footage, right? And they can, by having this, all your shelves in the middle of the building going up and having a robot go and get the books, one, there's less human error in shelving. Two, it saves in square footage. Now, there is a cost to the robotic system and all that, but the cost in terms of square footage is so minimum where you can shrink your collection size based on just this tall rack system. So we have looked at that. We're not there yet, but I have looked at that. We are looking at a automated handler system in terms of returns. So when books are returned, they'll get automatically checked in, which will help with any error rate, and it'll shoot it into little bins and things like that. So we're going to automate that part of it. Whether we're going to go full-scale robotic, that's different. But I know why they're doing it, because it not only impacts that new central library in Omaha, but it impacts their entire system, because they also have a courier system. So you can have the robot go get the book, boom, ship it to the courier, and it goes to the branch the next day. So even the branches don't have to have as much shelf space because of the dynamic system they have at the Central Library in Omaha. And that's getting ready to open. You can, if you look at it, there's a website, Omaha Public Library. You can see that system and work on their website.
Thank you.
Thank you again. I have some things to ask about, and I know everyone's been very analytical. These are the things that I'm personally passionate about. So excuse me for getting so personal on it. But so you talk about having a cultural center for Burbank. Burbank is in many ways a melting pot that we don't get to visualize. It's very much beneath the surface. A lot of different cultures, communities, and so on that don't necessarily get the spotlight. What, at this point, has been discussed, if anything, in terms of what would be the focus of a Burbank Cultural Center? What would be the type of thing that you would want it to bring to the community?
The first is with arts and culture. So I'm actually be presenting very similar presentation to the Cultural Arts Commission next month in November. And just to give you a little background, so in my last job in Texas, I was library director, arts and culture coordinator, and convention and visitors bureau visitors. So the visitors bureau, and I ran a library, ran an art center, and ran a visitor center. Those are the three things that I ran. So I have a background in public art and arts and culture. What I love about the cultural community, the creative community, is they're creative. You just open the doors and let them go, you know, just give them some guardrails and let them go. For me, though, the diversity, that's, again, I need to bring those people in, engage those folks to say, this is your library. What would you like to do for, you know, Asian American Month or whatever it is? And that was kind of the partnerships that I was building in my previous job. For me, it's, again, the asset is the building. The community is the community. How do I co-design? How do I get partnerships where they are creating great stuff? That's the thing. Most nonprofits of that, they're doing arts and culture, they don't have a venue. We're providing the venue. They're providing the product. That's my goal. Just open the doors, give them a venue, and let them do it. But the arts and culture is a real key, because every culture has their own art, their culture, their food. That's why food is so important. Culture is tied to food. And so I'm really into food, because I'm into building community, and one of the greatest ways to build community is to break bread with someone. We're social animals. It is really difficult to eat with someone you don't like. Doing food really breaks down a lot of barriers, and that's what the library is all about. So again, libraries are not about books, libraries are about people.
I'm glad you mentioned nonprofits, because that segues into my next question. There's a lot of small nonprofits in Burbank. And what I would love to see is for the public plaza to be made available to them for events, for, things that they can give back to the community, even events if there's a fundraiser part of it, that would be allowed in that public plaza, because so many really have no place to go to. We have a lot of banquets and dinners and so on, but I think we could get a little more creative with our fundraising if we have a space like that everyone knows about, that's open to the public, that people can come to, so you don't have this thing, well, we have to serve, dinner to 400 people type of thing.
Right.
So that would be one of my thoughts. You'd also mentioned the social work programs, and that was one of my questions. I think that's something that libraries have had to evolve into over the past decade, being the hub of the community in terms of access to services, to help people get access to food, to jobs, to basic skills like you talked about. And I know that's something that our library has evolved into, having the full-time social worker and so on. it would be wonderful to have a space in this new building that makes services available to people, but also helps them keep their dignity and respect, self-respect. And so I would just throw that out there, that as we design and get creative and so on, that maybe we can help make sure that we dignify people who are vulnerable and in need at the same time that we help them.
I'm so glad you said that. You must be listening in to the interviews that we're doing, because one of the things that, and Lee Fawn and Damien know this is one of the discussions we've had, where the social worker, our literacy program, and our Job Connect are now going to be in one area. Why are we doing that? Because a lot of people are embarrassed to have social work, literacy, and Job Connect. So exactly what you said, dignity, keeping people's dignity, helping them, but not making them feel bad or embarrassed to come and use those services. So combining those three functions in one space where, again, you can go in and maybe have a little reception area and then no one knows why you're there. It could be for those three purposes. But thank you for bringing that up, because we're thinking about that, and that has come up during our interviews right now. And MoCA is actually looking at how that can function. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. One last comment. The last Friday, I'm sorry, the Friday before Thanksgiving is Holiday in the Park, in Magnolia Park. And I think if you want to look at one event in Burbank where you have half of Burbank in the same place at the same time, there's no other event like Holiday in the Park to get access to the people of Burbank. So I'm hoping that the library will be there in some fashion, because I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you to talk to people that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, that maybe don't get the emails, aren't on social media, or too busy to pay attention.
Well, Linda, I'm going to ask Lee Fawn and Damien to check my office for bugs, because again, we're actually going to be at that event, not only to talk about the new library, but we're going to show you our new bookmobile. Our bookmobile will be at that event. It's the first event we're actually going to have. It won't have its wrap yet, but we have a brand new bookmobile, so that's another service that our library is going to be offering. We're going to be near the food truck, so be looking out for us, and we will have the survey there and getting input about the new library. So you must be, we must be on the same wavelength or something.
And I don't even get paid, so there you go. I'm doing the work.
There you go.
So, thank you. Any other final comments, thoughts, questions? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And we move on to our next presentation.
Sure, I'd like to call up Diego Ceballos to talk about the Cambridge pool replacement project.
Chair Besson, members of the board, Diego Ceballos, Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services for the City of Burbank. I am pleased today to give you a very brief presentation on the Cambridge pool replacement project. We can start the slide deck, please. Any project, in order to be successful, needs some quality community engagement. And so we started an 18-month city parks master plan process. The process included an inventory, conditions assessment, extensive community engagement, a needs analysis, recommendations, and findings and implementation. I wanted to share a couple of the highlights that we found. Our project website had over 5,000 views. Project website was available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the time of the community engagement. We saw 155 people that provided some feedback. And then our workshop is where it gets really, really notable, including we had 18 stakeholder interviews. But our workshop surveys came in at a staggering amount for each of the workshops, up to 1,146 on our survey number 3. And we also did a multimodal survey, and we did all of that in Spanish, Armenian, and English, of course. And we had 1,000 participants in 400 different households. And we wanted to understand exactly where the participation was happening. So each of our pieces of feedback, we were able to plot exactly where in Burbank these pieces of feedback were coming from. Wanted to make sure the entire community were being represented through our engagement. How does this relate to the pool? Oftentimes, as we were diving into the details, the overarching theme is we need additional programs in our aquatic section to meet the needs of the community. We also need some additional enhancements to our actual facilities. So those threads came through in the multimodal survey. Our community engagement workshops were activated at the Jocelyn Senior Center, really well participated. At the Verdugo Park, at the Mary Alvord Recreation Center with a lot of great participation. And our biggest turnout was at the McCambridge Park Gym. And my favorite picture is those youngsters that were part of the engagement process. A soccer group came out and just wanted to really let us know how they envision parks and the future of park development in the city of Burbank. So what are the key findings that really support this project? So the key findings and the key recommendations in our master plan is for us to redevelop the McCambridge swimming pool, augment our programs, and you know, again, that was the through line in a lot of our community engagement, such that it was a strategy number 2. So where are we? We received funding through the CIP process to begin architectural services. We've successfully engaged Jones and Modovin Architectural Design. This is the project timeline. So pre-design, schematic design, design development, construction documents, agency review, and the bid and award process. This is going to be a design, build, bid, build model. And those are our corresponding timelines. I do want to say we're on time. I know that's important for our city. I know it's important for Damien, and I know it's important for Lee Fawn to keep our projects on time and within budget. So the scope of the McCambridge pool replacement. So we're going to be demoing the site. We're demoing the pool and the chemical room. The recreation center is above the locker rooms and the pool building. The locker rooms, the staff offices. So the recreation center is not going to be touched. We are going to be renovating the staff offices, locker rooms, and restrooms and lobby. So a new bathhouse renovation, new mechanical room, new swimming pool. That swimming pool should be a lap swim pool, and then new activity pools. Water play features and slides will be added, a new deck, fencing, site enhancements. Design, development, and contingency are all part of this process, and then we are going to be going through the CEQA process and engaging a project manager to represent the city as we go into construction. So a real, preliminary conceptual design. We've got the lap pool. That's a 25-yard, 8-lane swimming pool with a deep end, a diving well, a competition-style pool. Currently, we have a 50-meter pool, but also remember the Verdugo Aquatics facility is a 50-meter pool. So having two 50-meter pools really doesn't represent the needs of the community. So what we're looking for is really family engagement. We want to be able to teach a lot more lessons. Our lessons, if there's any parents out here, I'm a little embarrassed to say, but our lessons sell out within 5 to 10 minutes when they go live. So we just don't have the capacity in our current setup to really meet those needs. In this setup here, we've got 3 activation zones for us to do swim lessons at various levels, young kids, adults, preteens, and so on. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. What you also see in this design is some green space inside the pool deck. So a natural turf would be incorporated into the design. And again, 3 bodies of water. Go a little bit more into it. So an 8-lane swimming pool, typical competition style pool. When you compete during most of the year, you compete in 25 yards. It's only during the summer season that you compete in meters, 50 meters the long way, right? And so a diving well, deep end of the pool, and then shallow for water exercise, fitness classes, swimming lessons, and so on. I want to talk a little bit about programming at this time. So at that facility, we do swim lessons, adults and kids. We do lap swimming, recreation swimming. We do special events. Currently, the Burbank High School pool is down for renovation. We have a joint use agreement with the district, and we're housing 130 athletes at the McKean Bridge Pool while their renovation is being completed. And we also house them at the Verdugo Pool as needed. So we have a mutual agreement to provide that support when in need. And we're going to rely on that agreement as well when this pool goes down for renovation. We will be working with the school district to house our programming, particularly during the summer, at both the John Burroughs High School pool or the Burbank pool. So this is the activity pool. So you have a zero depth entry, so like a beach entry, going into a play structure with splash pads and a lot of play features, a water slide. Then you go a little further out and you get a nice catch area that you can do water fitness, therapy, a parent and child class, so a lot of versatility in this space. And then we have, our preteen and teen and adult zone where you've got a catch pool with water slides. This feature at the Verdugo Aquatics facility sells out almost every single weekend. We have to break the sessions down into 4 sessions throughout the day. We do have a capacity in that design because we have a fence. We do about 140 participants every hour and a half for 4 sessions that are all sold out, waiting list, and so on. So really great space, great addition. This is our locker room, and the philosophy in our locker room is that we want to be very inclusive. So what we're looking at and make these as accessible as possible. So we're looking at family changing rooms. We're looking at gender neutral bathrooms. We're looking at ways for folks to store, like whether you're a swim team. If you go to the Verdugo pool and you've got a locker that's about 8 inches wide, your swim bag is not fitting in there. So a lot of people take that out to the pool deck. So what we want to do is, and also we have a lot of folks that are in the entertainment industry that come and are at our door at 5 o'clock in the morning waiting to do the laps on 5:30, I believe it is. And so those are folks that are business-oriented people. They want to come, they want to do their swim, they want to take a shower, a warm shower. They want to do their hair, so they want to do all those, have the amenities to do all those things, and then put their business suit and hit the office. And so we want to be able to create a space where they can do that. So wall plugs, functioning mirrors, hair dryers. We have a swimsuit dryer that makes it easy for you to dry your suit, put it in your bag, and then head out. So all of these amenities, I think one of the things that we're really proud in Burbank is creating world-class facilities. And what we want to do is we want to create another world-class facility like the Verdugo pool, but here near the hillside. A couple of other things that I wanted to highlight is that we have a concession area as part of the design plan, augment the staffing area. So currently, the staff, the lifeguards that are teaching the swimming lessons are showering and changing with the general public. We need to be able to create some separation there and give some additional privacy for our lifeguards. So we're incorporating that into the design. Safety are in aquatics, and I've been in aquatics for 28 years as a lifeguard, pool manager, and assistant director, now overseeing the aquatic section. Safety is our number 1 priority. Cleanliness is our a top priority as well. And so we want to be able to create a space where, one, incredibly safe and families are, feel welcome and there's a sense of safety. So the lifeguard stations in the right positions, the front office lobby that is secured and controlled access, but welcoming at the same time. And so a part of that is also making sure that the design lends itself well to do quality maintenance and efficient maintenance when we're closed in the evenings. That does conclude my presentation. I did want to share a couple more things. We can take the slide deck down. So we received $1 million for the design development portion during the CIP process. I'm really excited to announce that we did get a $1.5 million grant for construction from the state of California. And we are currently applying for up to $4 million grant for Measure A. The process is actually happening now. So we're pursuing every opportunity that we can to find other people's money to build this thing. And so we're going to continue to do that. But also, as we kind of finish up the design development piece of this, we want to bring back to the board some really gorgeous images of the vision that we have for this facility. So elevations and 3D renderings and so on once we get out of the design development process. The last thing that I'd like to add on the programming, we just were recently awarded by Cal Cities an award of excellence. It's called the Helen Putnam Award of Excellence. That's like the Grammys in our industry, right? And we were able to secure that recognition for adaptive sports in our adaptive sports programs. And so in Burbank, at McCambridge Park is the hub for adaptive sports. So on Sundays, we have wheelchair rugby, power chair soccer, pair fencing, and boccia. And occasionally we have wheelchair basketball. And over 100 athletes convene at that recreation center to participate. We're a regional hub for those programs. So we have folks from every county in our surrounding areas, Orange County, Riverside, Los Angeles, and Ventura, that drive to McCambridge to participate in those programs. So the spirit of how we're redeveloping this property is to continue with the adaptive sports programs. So engaging Special Olympics for swimming. We have a scuba diving company that works with special needs athletes that we've engaged with that are part of our programming. And then also we work with a contractor called One with the Water that does special needs aquatics programs. So we're going to continue that momentum. I think it's an important part of the fabric of the McCambridge Recreation Center and the adaptive sports programs that we've created there. So that is, and also it puts us in a very competitive position when we're looking to apply for grant funding because we're very unique in that our model is really looking to augment adaptive sports for the region. That is my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Appreciate it. Any thoughts, questions from anyone? No? Oh, go ahead, please.
Thank you for presentation. I have a quick question. What's the budgeted estimate for this project?
Yeah, thank you for that. So the total budget estimate is roughly $18 million for construction. That's what we've calculated.
Congratulations on your awards. I'm not surprised. It's a very well-run program, and we're very lucky to have the facilities that we do in our community. I was just casting my eye down the schedule. Bid and award is next year in September sometime. That's kind of where it's tracking at the moment. Any sense of construction duration?
That's a good question. So the duration would be about 18 to 24 months is what we're looking at. If all the stars align and things come to work out in our favor, we'd be closer to the 18-month timeline because we really want to be able to have a grand opening for the LA 28 Olympics.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and I just want to commend you and the Parks Department and the city in whole for having the adaptive program too. I think that's really really a beacon for a community to have. And I have some experience with that as a child that had a rare bone disease, and there wasn't a lot of that going on at the time. And it's really great for kids and their parents, and for other kids that don't have these challenges, to really interact and see that people with disabilities can have can be teammates and can be very productive. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. I just want to use this platform just to speak a little bit more about the adaptive sports program. And so the barriers to entry for adaptive sports are very expensive equipment, coaches that don't have the ability to really train, and then facilities. And we have taken a very proactive approach to try to solve all those problems, right? The three problems. And so I'm happy to say through Leadership Burbank, we got a $90,000 grant to buy adaptive sports equipment. Through Catherine Barger's office, we had a $40,000 grant to buy adaptive wheelchairs. And then our general fund has contributed also to that program. And so we have a power track chair that we're going to be launching in just a few weeks that will make our trails accessible for the very first time at the Nature Center. So definitely, and then the last piece, because we do have some phenomenal coaches at the McCambridge Park. We have a world-class fencer that's Olympic level fencer that provides these classes. And just the last shout out is that those classes are free of charge. They're accessible. You have to get a Be Active membership, which is a nominal, I think it's a $10 fee for the entire year. And you sign a waiver and you're in the programs, and you can participate in one, you can participate in all. But the magic of that program is a lot of people just come for one sport, for the fencing, but they stay because of community. They stay to watch the boccia. They stay to watch the fencing. They stay to watch the rugby, and they've really created a community. So thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. That sounds wonderful, and it's clear that these programs are massively popular in our community. You mentioned selling out and all these head counts and all. Heading back to the issue, not the issue, the topic of flexibility. So let's say all of a sudden we find out, I'm going to make something up, there's aqua pickleball, and it's sweeping the nation, and everyone wants to play aqua pickleball. How much flexibility do we have in our new, new pool and complex and so on? If something does happen like that, that we can, as a community, be able to provide something new and something people want without taking away from other things.
Okay, so let me just answer that question, multi-pronged. First off, our team in Park and Rec, attend several conferences, and we talk about these complex problems, and we bring back ideas. I've been managing the pickleball growth piece personally in the city since I got here. And what I can tell you now, to give you a sense of how we approach this, is that we have close to 17 pickleball courts here in Burbank. 4 of them are dedicated. The others are flexible spaces, meaning tennis and pickleball. We've been able to, through a lot of community engagement, sitting down at the table, working, having these dialogues, we've been able to create harmony between the pickleball and the tennis community, right? Creating some equities. And then a lot of our analysis is really data-driven. We have a program called Placer AI, where we can kind of understand how many people are coming and going from our facilities, and we can clearly note that on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at the Olive Recreation Center, we have, close to 65 to 100 people that come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 7 a.m. and 12. So we can shift our models of operation and reserve the space appropriately, but we do it through data analytics, one. And then two, the folks that are underrepresented, our tennis community, right? The other programs that maybe don't have those numbers, we have to understand that there's a place for them here in Burbank as well. And how do we continue to prioritize those voices that often are not the loudest voices? And I think what we've done so far is a lot of engagement, a lot of data-driven analysis, and try to stay in front of the trends, right? And I think if we continue the adaptive sports trend, I think that there's going to be a lot of momentum in other cities adopting those trends, right? And so I hope I answered your question. It's flexibility, it's studying the issue, being proactive, and a lot of engagement.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that I'm really happy to hear that data is playing a part in the analysis and decision-making. Because one of the concerns I've had over the years is that decisions are made by gut instinct, which is not necessarily bad, but not necessarily the most efficient and the most far-reaching and foresightful decision-making. It's in the moment as opposed to looking ahead. And I think the data-driven analysis will really help create that balance. Again, also, as you say, bringing in the needs of the community as part of that, so it's not just data and data only. So I really appreciate your answer.
Yeah, and just the last piece there is unintended consequences, right? We'll go back to pickleball. It's like there's no way if there's 1,000 residents that came and said, I want pickleball in the equestrian center near homes, I said, thank you very much for that piece of feedback. That's not going to happen because the impact is far too great, right? And so we've got to really mitigate. But we can find areas where we have quiet neighbors that don't mind, like at Maxim, right? Because they're next to a cemetery, where we could potentially make that need a reality.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Thank you so much. I really appreciate the
Thank you.
information. We are now moving on to the next report to the board, which is rescheduling of November and December meetings.
So for this year, the regular meeting for November and December both fall on holiday. So as custom in the past, we typically recommend to combine both the November and December into a single meeting. So as what we do in the past, typically that's the first Thursday of December. However, it's completely up to the board to decide what to do here. So.
Could I hear from the board in terms of your thoughts on this topic?
I have a question, mainly from staff. Other than the two future painting items that we have on the agenda, are we planning to have more items added to the combined meeting?
Currently, we don't have a set agenda yet. It's probably trying to secure some major project updates. So it would be if I can. It most likely going to be some project update like what we see today. So all currently there's nothing set yet. So.
Thank you. I was going to suggest, if that's okay with the board and staff, to go dark and have our next meeting in January. That's going to give you ample time to gather items that you need to present to the board.
Any thoughts on that suggestion?
I would second that motion.
Yeah, I think we have consensus from the board that we feel that, I don't know if we need an absolute motion because it's a report to the board, but that I think everyone, rather than scramble to fill the agenda of a meeting during the middle of the holiday season, it would help everybody to take a break.
The question is for the city attorney. Do we need an official vote on this?
Since we are going dark, we can reschedule to, or actually the next one wouldn't be rescheduled since it would be January. So we would meet on the fourth Thursday of January 2026.
The usually
usual.
scheduled slot.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Do we need to make a motion or?
City Attorney, do we need to make a motion?
If you can make a motion in terms of going dark and just going with our regular schedule in January.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Okay, and I'll call for the vote, please.
Maria Coronado,
Yes.
Dwayne Gilmore,
Yes.
Linda Besson,
Yes.
Colin Hoffmeister,
Yes.
Armin Avazian.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate our speakers tonight and staff, and I guess we will see you, everybody, next year. Well, oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any future agenda items? Or introduction of additional, sorry, I'm ready to leave. Introduction of additional agenda items from anyone.
Madam Chair, forgive me if I'm a chapter behind here, but do we still have a vacancy on the board?
We do, and I believe, was it yesterday or today was the deadline for an application to submit one for that vacancy. And then, so what I've seen is it's forecast for the, I think it's November 17th, city council meeting, that they will review the applications and vote to make an appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from staff on that?
I think this is where we would like to hear suggestion from the board member to see, what future agenda you would like to hear. So if not, then we can move on to the next one.
I feel like everybody looked at me. I think just based on what I've seen during my time on the board, everything's been really wonderful in terms of projects that are coming up, but also being in the middle of projects and kind of summing up at the end. The Glen Oaks intersection was a great example of that, and the pavement improvement program. But if there's anything programmatically that you think is something good to report out on, we'd love to hear about it. And we always enjoy hearing about the forthcoming projects or the ones in early development as well. And from a community's point of view, obviously, it's good to get it out there. So if there's any input to influence the direction on that. So I know that wasn't a definitive answer, but we trust your judgment to bring updates to the board.
Absolutely. So we do this case by case. When a major project is completed, and we would like to highlight it. And also, there are when smaller projects get completed, we typically have them on a semi-annual or annual report to present them all together. So, we definitely will looking to do that in the future, but it's it's when we actually have we would like to. I think we will have something that we can definitely present. I have something in mind, but I would like to really prepare and put it on a future agenda. But definitely, yes.
Any other comments? Great, thank you. And again, future agenda items are the fiscal year 24-25 Municipal Infrastructure Fund Financial Report and the BRT project update.
So for the financial report, currently it's tracking to be on the January agenda. I talked with the finance director. That seems to be the best day. And for the BRT project, which is there are a lot of ongoing discussion, and what we the staff level and public works, talk with community development, transportation, was the lead on this. We feel the best venue for a project update in the, at least during this time will be actually at the council. So, because that would be where the public will have the best opportunity to comment on it, and there will be, we anticipate a lot of passionate discussion. So, the IOB may not be the best venue during this time. So maybe when there are more certainty with the project, then we will bring a project update more specific for the IOB from the infrastructure point of view instead of a general project update. So that's the thinking, our current thinking. So, if there's any feedback from the board, we would love to hear about it.
I agree with you. I think it's a complicated project that affects many different levels. And I would prefer, like you would, to keep any discussion of that project at the IOB within the realm of topics that the IOB addresses, as opposed to, for example, there was an article by a local news outlet about how SB 79 and housing is going to affect specifically what's happening on Olive and the fears of the community and so on. That's not what the IOB is about. That's not our mission, to address those types of topics. What we are about are the budget and the money and Measure P and all these other sources of funding for projects. So like you say, once there's more specifics and there's a drill down into what exactly the financial impact is going to be, that would be in a way that we as a board would address, then that's when I would be interested. Any other thoughts?
I just want to say 100% agree.
Thank you. Okay, on that note, we will adjourn for 2025. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, happy, healthy holiday season, and we'll see you at Holiday in the Park.